I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're talking about parenting. You know, being a parent is never easy. There's no instruction manual. If you're a parent, you've been told that by the doctor, the pediatrician you take your child to see, that we kind of have to figure out things as we go along. It can be even tougher if you have a child who has special needs. And Joanne Lynam has written a wonderful book that will help you if you have a child with special needs, and if you're in the larger community. You will also realize that helping children like Emma is important to all of us. The name of the book is called An Angel at My Door, A Mother's Fight for Her Daughter to Live to Her Potential. And we are welcoming Joanne Lynam to the show today, and we thank the folks at Sweet Spire Literature Management for helping us put Joanne in the spotlight today. Joanne, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Loved your book. I think it's an essential read for any parent, anybody who cares about children, any member of the community who wants to make the world a better place. Tell me about the book so the audience understands it a little bit better.
Sure. I think you could nut this book down to three things: hope, resilience, and courage. It takes great hope to acquire a human body. It takes great resilience to live the life of a human. But to live the life of a person with a disability requires enormous courage. And I hope that that's what people might take away from the book, along with some other stories.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tell us a little bit about your journey with Emma.
So Emma was born in 1994. At the time, she required major surgery to repair her bowel, and she was only 32 weeks of age. She was preemie. Needless to say, the surgery went well, but she had a bleed, and she had to be resuscitated. So I was rushed to intensive care and told that if she crashed again, we won't resuscitate your daughter because she has a disability. Early hours of the morning, a doctor sat beside me and said, "Look, Mrs. Lynam, why don't you just go home, get on with your life? Leave her here. I'm sure we can find somewhere to put her." No, thank you. No, thank you. This is the daughter I am supposed to have. So it began with that. It began with me understanding right from the get-go that there's a lack of awareness of the value of people with disability, that the scales in life are not balanced justly.
And so right from the start, as soon as your daughter is born, you're being told by the experts that you're better off without your daughter.
That's right.
And that's a horrible message to receive, particularly to somebody who is pro-life, to somebody who has just given birth, who, you know, basically loves that child no matter what.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I knew I was having a child with Down syndrome. I saw it in meditation. I knew that this is a contract between my daughter and I. Long before she came, we signed a contract together to say, "I'll be your mum. Yep, I know you're going to come with a disability. Your job is to challenge the narrative about what is possible for people with disability. That's your job, and I'm going to back you." We had that agreement, I believe.
Yeah. Tell us about your battle and your work to have your daughter live to her potential.
So probably lots of parents with a child with a disability will relate to the struggles to have Emma included in just regular things like dance groups, music groups, you know, that kind of thing. But the struggle to get her into school was epic. That was an epic battle to get her into school. As school was finishing, there was an enormous sense of concern, anxiety. What now? What now? What now? Yeah. And I'd been online, I'd read a lot of things and could understand that Emma needed to have a role, but I didn't quite know how to do it. And then I had in meditation an idea of her starting a shredding business. So Emma has a small business called Master Shredder. So she shreds confidential documents, but she doesn't take them off site. She's got a mobile business. So she goes to the business and no confidential document leaves until it's destroyed. So now suddenly, not being able to read or write was actually not a negative. it's a plus. It's a bonus. Who better to shred for you than someone who can't actually read it? So that has been an important journey. And what's behind that is that understanding that people need roles. We all have roles, informal roles of, mother, daughter, sister, friend, neighbor, but we also have more formal roles. So for example, your role as a presenter, mine as a writer, it carries more value than just, oh, I'm a neighbor. Of course. Many times people with disability, particularly those with intellectual impairment, never have that opportunity to contribute, to belong, to be a part of the community. They're kind of boxed. This is what history tells us. You need a medical model. You need to be over there. Yeah. So I was looking at it through that lens of a role, rather than a lot of what we see is keeping people busy with activities. Yeah. But activities don't take you anywhere. Activities are short term. But having a valuable role means that the person can grow in confidence, grow in skill, grow in competencies. And that's transformative in any person's life, particularly someone like Emma. So I also looked at things like what's typical? What do people typically Emma's age, what do those young women do? What do they do with their time? Where do they go? Well, now that's big, because now you're not just focusing on, oh, this one little problem here of this person. Now you've opened up your thinking to something huge. If I model her life on this, wow. Now that's been transformative, because working and having a valuable role changed Emma's life, gave her confidence. So now she has some other wonderful roles of traveler. She's traveled overseas twice, is planning to go to Canada next year. She has the role of neighbor. She has the role of home owner. She has the role of young person exploring boundaries. She has the role of the socialite, coming back, knocking back a few beers. She is
That's
an Aussie
wonderful.
after all. Yeah. So those things are what transform someone's life. So those sorts of issues come from something called social role valorization, which is the foundation of Emma's life.
Wonderful, wonderful. One role that doesn't change for you is being an active mom, no matter how old Emma gets. That's part of the difference when you have a child with special needs, I presume, right?
Yeah. I have, my husband, I have two other children, both grown up, both adults now. In fact, I'm a grandmother, courtesy of one of my sons. But yes.
But even to your other children who don't have special needs, you never stop being their mother either.
No, I'm still mum. If I think they're sick or I think something's wrong, I'm the first to be like, oh, what do you need? Can I get some soup? Or do you need some vitamins? Oh, do you have? Yeah. And it isn't any different for a child with a disability, except that there's the ongoing advocacy for that child continues on. That being mindful of protecting the role, being mindful constantly of the image around Emma, making sure that she is presented to the public in a positive, competent way.
Absolutely. Tell me what it was like writing this book.
Wow. To be honest, I never wanted to write a book. I can recall a conversation with a friend many years ago who said, I'd love to write a book. And I said, no, not me. That sounds like a lot of hard work. But I had a dream, not once, not twice, but 3 times in which I was writing a book. And the first time I woke up in a panic, like, no. And so I looked it up in a book that had meanings of dreams. And I was relieved to find that it said, oh, it's a desire to learn more. And I went, oh, thank God for that, But then I had the dream 2 more times. And after the 3rd time, I kind of surrendered. All right, what is it? What do I need to write? And then it became clear what I had to write. And it was an interesting combination of being cathartic and challenging at the same time. Going back, remembering things is always challenging. but also very good, because it's peeling another layer away and replacing it with a little bit more forgiveness when you've kind of peeled that off. And yeah, it's important though.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Have you spoken to anyone who's read the book, gotten their feedback, particularly people who might be going through similar challenges that you are?
Yeah. One of the things that I've been very blessed so far is everyone who's read the book tell me that it's a beautiful book, that they've loved it. I've had feedback from people who have read it, who have nothing to do with the disability community. And they tell me that they think it should be preferred reading for medical students, for social work students, for people going into human services, which is
Oh, I
great.
agree. I agree. I mean, because there is such a misunderstanding. I know when I see people in wheelchairs, I nod and say hello to them the same way I nod and say hello to everyone else walking down the street. But some people just don't have a comfort level with even touching people who are different with special needs or disabled or challenged, whatever phrase you might want to use. But, human touch is so important. Human acknowledgement is so important. If you're going to say good morning to one person, do you agree with me that there has to be kind of a comfort level given to people?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't speak for any other country other than my own. And certainly here we have a long way to go. I would say we're still climbing the hill of history. The hill of history is a tough climb. Yeah. So there's a lot of that understanding that people with disability need to be looked after in a special way. They need to be over there. But people with disabilities, including those with intellectual impairment, have the same human needs as you and I.
Exactly.
To be loved, to belong, to have a purpose. We all have that. If you take that purpose out of your life, all of us are lost. So, yeah, many people with intellectual impairment never get the opportunity to have a valuable role. Their role continues to just be the user of services, and they look their whole life out at everyone else's life, but never actually having one of their own. Yeah. So to shift that and to get to the hill of history requires some radical thinking. So we can't get to the top of the hill and kind of go, oh, well, let's do what we've been doing. No, we need to think outside the square being society. How did we create that thinking? We need a different way of thinking. Looking now then at people with disability, including those with intellectual impairment, as having gifts, talents, to be able to contribute in the same way that anyone else does. So, for example, I read a story a little while ago of a young man with autism who had studied law. But he could not get a job for love or money because of the autism. No one could get past that. A firm gave him some work experience and sat him down in front of a computer and said, look, we've got this issue and we've been trying to find where the problem is. And we've been working on this for months. No one in the firm could figure out in a forensic way what was happening. 2 hours later, he had it. He went back to the principal and went, here, see? I don't know about you, but I think we can use that kind of thinking, that out of the box, look at it in a whole different way. That's a great gift.
Absolutely. Everyone has gifts to contribute if they're allowed to contribute. And that's what your battle has been all about. I think it's interesting that you call your book An Angel at My Door, because it's hard to tell who's the angel, you or your daughter. I think you both found an angel in each other because you are a terrific mom.
Yeah. My daughter isn't the angel. Neither am I. The angel that's referred to in the book doesn't refer to her. It's actually referring to that presence, whether you want to call it God or consciousness or whatever, that came to me when I was 9 weeks and 3 days pregnant. Exactly. 9 weeks and 3 days. And I sat to meditate. And in meditation, I saw myself give birth. And I saw someone hold this little baby up in front of me. And I could see she had Down syndrome. And in that moment, it was as if the whole universe went, held its breath. I felt so loved, so incredibly still and peaceful. That is the presence of an angel telling me, hey, come on. Yeah, something amazing is about to happen. Remember when you signed that deal with this girl? Well, she's on her way. That's the angel that came to tell me, hey, this is what's happening. That is the angel at my door.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for explaining the title. I still feel you're both angels to each other as well. So that's just my opinion.
You don't know
Because,
my
like I
daughter.
said, you're that's funny. Well, she's brought out the best in her mom, and her mom brings out the best in her, and that's what angels do, right? The name of the book is An Angel at My Door, A Mother's Fight for Her Daughter to Live to Her Potential. It is written by Joanne Lynam, and it is a wonderful book. It's an essential read, and it's highly recommended. You can find out more at Joanne's website. It is on your screen right now. Joanne, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.